Yeah, sorry to make you guys wait. Got over here as quickly as I could. Appreciate it. A little bit of rain today, which we probably needed. Nice to have this beautiful indoor facility, though, when that happens. So definitely a disappointing loss at Ohio. We got off to a decent start. I say decent because we were certainly in a close game at the start of the second quarter. But we didn't flip the field position the way we needed to. We had a shanked punt, which gave them some good field position. Fortunately, we got an interception to stop that drive. And then we marched down the field and missed a field goal ourselves, which, you know, in hindsight, had I know it was going to be such a high-scoring second quarter, you know, maybe on 4th and 3 or 4th and 4 there, you consider going for it. But going in, we certainly thought that field goals would matter in that game, but you still need to make them. So, you know, the second quarter did not go well defensively, and explosive plays hurt us on the ground and through the air, and the quarterback, who turned out to be a fabulous athlete, scrambling. So that was tough. But that being said, we get a stop at the start of the third quarter, force a punt, get pretty good field position, march right down the field, running it, throwing it, feeling like we're going to make this a one-score game, and then an uncharacteristic turnover by our offense. So, you know, that was sort of the way the day went. Even down 33-16 late in the third quarter, we get great field position to the 50-yard line and a chance to close the gap significantly there, and ended up turning the ball over on downs. So it was definitely a tough day and a disappointing loss. I think Ohio's got a fabulous team, but that being said, I think we could have certainly done a better job and put a better foot forward from an execution standpoint and a consistency standpoint. And really, that's what it comes down to. You know, you don't need to do anything extraordinary. You know, with a lot of the same guys, you know, we've gone out there and played against other good teams and performed well for 4 quarters. But that's the margin of error in this league right now. And you know, we're playing some good teams, and we'll continue to play some good teams here as we enter the month of November. Believe in our guys. We came out here today and had a really, really good Tuesday practice. They are a tight-knit, gritty bunch, prideful bunch, and they believe in what we're doing and how we're doing it. And we certainly know we're not perfect. We definitely have some flaws, but we're also capable, and I think we've shown that. And here we are entering November, and we've got some great opportunities lying in front of us. So you could say the glass is half full or the glass is half empty. I choose to look at it that it's half full, and I'm excited for the challenges that lie ahead. We certainly are going to be playing a really, really good team, and the last thing I think you want to do with Akron is look at their record, because they played a brutal out-of-conference schedule. But when you look at their games against teams in our conference, and you look at their win against a good Colgate team, they have played really, really well. And they've had some close losses against good teams in our league. They had a very, very good win against Eastern Michigan at home last weekend. And it was really, you know, sometimes you have those games as a staff where you say, we need to go in and do A, B, C, D, and E. And that's exactly what Akron did in that win over Eastern Michigan. It really was, in my opinion, the anatomy of a win. You come out, they threw passes on the first 5 plays of the game. They got an early score. They convert a 2-point conversion via a cute muddle huddle play, which kudos to them for pulling that out. And then they were able to make Eastern Michigan one-dimensional. And Eastern really struggled to run the ball, and then fell behind, and had to throw it. But now you know they need to throw it. And you combine that with some pretty good special teams play. And then the last thing that Akron was able to do in that game, because Eastern did eventually come back, was finish the game. And those are the kind of wins that help your team, help your morale, build confidence. So I'm sure we're going to see a very, very energetic and excited Akron team this week that's playing their best football of the year. Their head coach, Joe Moorhead, I've known him probably upwards of 30 years and always had tremendous respect for him. First of all, he's a great guy, but he's a brilliant offensive mind, and everywhere he's gone, whether it's been as an offensive coordinator or as a head coach, the offensive productivity and the creativity has been spectacular, and he's got an unbelievable way of figuring out what your weaknesses are and attacking those and presenting different looks each week. He's got a veteran quarterback in Ben Finley who's thrown for a ton of yards. This guy can make all the throws, and I've said this here before, but when you see a guy put the kind of velocity on the field outs, those are NFL type throws, and you see a quarterback in this league making those, it's impressive. But beyond that, he's just got sort of the experience, the savvy, the smarts. You could tell he goes into games really well prepared, which is a reflection of the coaching. And he's a legit quarterback. They've got another quarterback, Bullock, who's a legit dual threat guy that they bring in, and he can throw it as well as run it. They can get into some bigger personnel groupings with him and do some quarterback runs. They'll bring him in down in the low red zone, and now you're adding a hat because of the quarterback run game. So it's a challenging package to defend. They've got 7 receivers with 10 or more catches. A guy named Norton is their leading receiver, 30 catches, 19-yard average. So that's some explosive plays mixed in there, several touchdowns. Couple good backs, Kellum number 22 and Simmons number 8, and both of those guys catch the ball well out of the backfield. So you're going to get a lot of diverse personnel groupings. You're going to get a lot of misdirection in the run game, good screen game, and then a very strong drop back passing game. So our defense is definitely going to have its hands full. And Eastern Michigan's a good football team, and these guys jumped out to an 18-zip lead on them. I think their offensive line's improving, doing a good job covering up people in the run game. They've got a really good number 88 transfer tight end from Arizona State, Newell, who can catch and run, versatile guy. They're averaging 6.7 yards per play in their last 3 games, which that's if you average that out, if they were able to sustain that, that would put them in the top 15 in the country among some of the most elite offenses that you're going to see. Defensively, they're a challenge as well. Mix of 4 down and 3 down, mix of 2 high and 1 high. They do a lot of movement and stemming with their front. They'll stem and then they'll move. They're physical. They tackle well. I think their defensive line does a really good job with their movements against the run game and stunts against the pass game. Eastern really wasn't able to get a whole lot going running the ball. They had 114 yards and runs to the tailback, they just didn't really go anywhere. And then they tried to run the quarterback some, and that didn't really go anywhere. And then when they had to throw it, Akron's secondary, I think in the first half alone, had 4 or 5 really nice pass breakups. So they played extremely well. Their D-line, 41-19, Nunnally, who's a kid I remember from my days at Memphis, that out of South Paulding in Georgia, 99, Kapongo. These guys are good players in our league in the interior part of their defense. They were able to generate a good pass rush, just bringing 4 the other day. Then they'll bring some challenging 6-man pressures. Bring defensive backs as well as linebackers 4 off a side. So they're gonna give your offensive line fits, your running backs fits, and then behind it, I mentioned their secondary, like really good eye discipline back there. Good job matching routes. I've seen a couple teams try to run flea flickers on them, and they've defended those. So, those are signs that they're well coached and playing with discipline. And Eastern Michigan's got, a pretty good offensive line. I remember watching UMass against them, and I don't think UMass got a single hit on the quarterback all afternoon, and Akron was all over them. So it's a very good defensive unit. And then lastly, special teams. I think they're really well coached. They've got the best net punt in the league. Their punter's a lefty who does a great job with both rugby and angle punts. They bring a lot of pressure on their punt return unit. Their KOR is a multiple scheme. They've run boundary, field, middle seam returns, good personnel on their kickoff unit. So we're definitely going to have our hands full going over there. I think, this game and probably the next three after that are all going to be what we've seen. This league has got a lot of balance in it this year, and you got to show up and be at your best for 60 minutes. And we're looking forward to the challenge, and hopefully we can do just that. Sure.
Pete, going into the final month of the regular season, going to the Akron game, how do you assess this team and kind of where areas you still need to grow, but where areas you need to build on?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's a great bunch of guys, and they never get too high or too low. I think you can be real with them. You can be brutally honest with them. They don't like to lose. None of us do. But they're also a very resilient bunch. And one of the things that we've talked about, really going back to late January, is where would we be right now at this moment in time, and are we in position to continue to improve and hopefully play some of our best football in November? And we'll know a month from now whether we're able to do that or not. But they're aware that the recent history has not been very encouraging in November. So they've got a chance to change that trajectory, and that's what they're determined to do. So, they came out here today and very businesslike, very gritty. We're not going to be able to bring in any new players over the next month, right? So it's going to be, this is our guys, this is who we're in the foxhole with, and we need to keep tweaking and keep trying to develop and keep looking for the best ways as a staff to put these guys in position to be successful. And they've got to keep challenging themselves to be the best version of themselves. And, let's see how it goes.
When you get 40 put up on you last week and going into Akron, what do you do? Tell your players, your defense, and your offense to put the points up there?
Yeah.
What do you say to them going into Akron? You get built off this past Saturday.
Yeah, you need to stay the course, right? When you look at our defensive performance, we really struggled in that second quarter, and there were 3 or 4 really glaring plays that made a huge difference in the outcome of that game. And some of that is things that you can correct, and some of that is a credit to some really good players at Ohio. But that's the nature of what we do, right? This is all about play the next play. A good defensive player has got to be able to put it behind him and play the next play, and then also at times look back and say, look, this is what it looks like when we do have 11 guys playing on the same page and with great fundamentals and flying around, and playing with a lot of zeal. So at least we've had our share of those good experiences too to fall back on.
CJ's numbers are significantly up, passing game numbers in the last couple games.
Yeah.
What has evolved, changed, adjusted to lead to that, either from him particularly or from the entire group?
Sure. Well, the first thing I would say is, he's now got 2/3 of a season under his belt as a starter, and you would hope to see some gradual development and confidence and evolution for a guy who really hasn't had an opportunity to play a whole lot of football other than, maybe a little sprinkling here and there and some quarterback runs and things like that. So I think you're starting to see some of that game experience under his belt, and that's allowed us to open up the playbook a little bit more. And we're seeing some receivers step up. You know, we've said in here before that we're missing Nick McMillan, but that created opportunities for other guys. And that's a game where we played 6 or 7 different receivers, and guys had, you know, Quay Sanders and Chance Morrow, guys like that stepped up and made plays, kept the chains moving on 3rd down. Vic Snows put a couple really good games together back to back. Messiah Birch is doing some good things, both at running back and out of the backfield, and we're moving him around, and he's showing some versatility. You know, Taj Johnson's a good, steady player. Tad Barr's a good, steady player. So I think the guys are sort of rallying around CJ, and CJ's getting a little bit better. Now, the fumble was obviously very costly. You know, we need to get rid of that ball after we step up in the pocket, and then the late interception was disappointing. That was just a bad read. But overall, you know, we've this season done a pretty good job taking care of the football. We got to get back to that. We certainly can't afford a couple turnovers in a game against these next opponents, starting with Akron.
And Pete, at the same time, one of the things you said after the loss at Ohio was you got to kind of rediscover the balance in your offense. You know, 126 rushing yards to 257 passing yards. How do you do that to prepare for Akron?
Yeah, balance is not, this is total coach speak right now. So you could, like, what were those toys that you had in the 70s? Like, you pull out the thing and it just, so this is total coach speak right now. Balance doesn't mean equal yards on offense, in the run game and the pass game. Balance is, can you run it when you need to run it? And can you run it consistently over 4 quarters? And I think we absolutely did that against Ohio. I mean, there was, Birch had an explosive run for a touchdown early in the game. Alj had several nice runs in that game, good chunk runs, you know, 7, 8, 9 yards. Now, we went backwards a few times too, and that's what you need to eliminate. But against a really rugged defense like Ohio that had been really stingy against the run, I didn't feel like that was a day where we're looking at each other on the sideline like a 10-year-old kid that just came out of a haunted house. You know, like we felt like, hey, if you want to call runs, and we'll stay on schedule doing it. So I think where the balance has come in our game is that we're throwing the ball better. So, you know, here you go, Rach. There's my water today. That looks right about half full to me. So that's how I'm looking at it.
We think it was a see and say. Does that sound right?
What's that?
See and say?
Oh, I don't know.
I was thinking
I thought maybe you were alluding to Ron Say, the third baseman for the Dodgers.
Not talking about the Penguin.
The Dodgers seem to be playing pretty well right now, right?
The 2 quarterback thing they do seems a little bit beyond that, where he'll play a little tight end sometimes. He'll be on the field with other quarterbacks.
He caught a screen last week.
What's the challenges for that?
Oh, yeah. No, it's not just he's in the game and you can expect zone read or, you know, wildcat type runs. It's he could be out there at receiver. He could be, you know, motioning in the backfield, you know, and Joe, their head coach, is, you know, he's, when it comes to creativity, he's fabulous. And so he's sitting back there in his office, you know, he's probably in a pair of shorts with, you know, with his remote in his hands, and he's just dreaming up more ways to utilize those guys. So, yeah, that's the challenge for Joe Bowen this week, is what new stuff do they come out and do? Because you know there's going to be not just new wrinkles, but you could see some completely different stuff that they haven't shown through 8 games.
You need one more. You kind
Yes.
of alluded to this before earlier on, but how would you describe the competitive level in the MAC right now? You look at it standing-wise, it's kind of a log jam, you know, 2 through
I agree.
7 or so.
I agree.
But how do you describe it from a coaching?
How do I describe it? I would say it's the essence of parity. How about that? And that's part of the I'll throw another great SAT word at you. I actually despise this word, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. Ethos. That's the ethos of the MAC right? Parity. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day, not just weekend, because we're getting into our midweek schedule. So I'm sure if you're sitting back there as our conference commissioner right now, you're like Smithers, you know, you're sitting there and you're like, this is pretty good. You know, this is what I want our league to be, where, you know, now you also like it sometimes when you have a clear favorite because, you know, you might have a team that's pushing to get into the college football playoff or something like that. And our league this year is just a lot more balanced and people knocking each other off every week. And so you don't have that, you know, I guess Western Michigan would be the closest thing to, you know, the lead dog right now, but they've got a tough schedule ahead in November too. So it'll be interesting to see where it all goes.